They gave you an artificial heart?
Yeah.
How many bars is the battery showing?
1.
You got 1 hour. Keep your body electrically charged to keep it pumping. If you can get hold of your heart, I'm reasonably sure I can put it back in.
Crank, motherfucker! Crank!
Crank times like 10,000 volts. Jesus Christ.
I don't know if we should do a PG version of this review. I don't think it's fucking possible.
I don't think you would want to.
This movie is goddamn insane. It's just pure insane. The movie kicks off, and you're like, all right, this is kind of stupid. And it knows it's stupid and says, fuck it, we're going to have a good time.
Sure. No, I mean, okay, if you all saw The Last Crank with Jason Statham, which I know you're expecting, it's just another transporter movie. It's not. It's a fun little, very visceral and completely silly action fest about a guy who, like in the movie DOA, who's got a drug in his body that's going to kill him, but as long as he keeps his body moving, keeps his adrenaline up, he'll stay alive, so he can just get revenge against the guys who did it.
Well, and what worked in the first film was the fact that it was Grand Theft Auto with somebody who never put the controller down.
Sure.
And it's 90 minutes of this guy running and beating people and occasionally stopping to have sex and then beating more people.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what this is. This time he wakes up. He survived the fall from the helicopter, and they've taken his heart. He has an electric heart, and his battery is dying. So now he has to keep juicing himself to find the motherfucker who's got his heart so that he can get his heart back.
Damn, dog. You good, S.A.?
Never better. You want to give me a jump? Just man.
Yeah, this is Grand Theft Auto if your dual shock function was broken and it just never stops vibrating. It's a new film in many ways. They're not trying to duplicate Crank. I mean, there's some stuff that are direct, like, okay, this is a continuation. A lot of it, in fact. But the look of the thing, the style of it, hell, just the way they said, you know what, y'all embraced the implausibility in this last one, so we're just going to say fuck it and just go insane this time.
Well, and it's not just that they go insane. The thing that works about this film that's even better than the previous film is this is, in its purest form, exploitation.
Yes.
It, rather than what many of the other exploitation filmmakers have done lately and made throwbacks to the exploitation of the 70s, this is good old-fashioned, modern-day, turn of the millennium exploitation. It has all the hallmarks of the action films that we have now, the fast cutting, the weird angles, the just frenetic pace, and then it's got so much blood and ass beating and boobs and sexual innuendo and just pure bug fucking sanity. There are characters in this film that you're just like, what are you thinking?
Why are you even here? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, they blew up real nice. There's like Bai Ling who's in this film, who I can't stand in almost anything, which is perfect for her in this film because she's a crack whore who just gets abused to no end.
Well, and Clifton Collins Jr., who I just adore, is fantastic in this film as this insane fucking Mexican drug lord,
right?
Who's just so fucking over the top. And then, of course, I don't remember the name of the actor, but one of the actors returns pulling a total Chow Yun-fat, in which he comes back as his previous character's brother, because he was killed in the first film. He's back like, I'm his brother.
This is the kind of insanity, though, that this film embraces, where it knows so totally that it's a movie. I mean, it's completely meta. They even refer to at one point how Jason Statham looks just like that guy from the Transporter films. And even that character you're talking about, when he shows up, he goes, I'm from Hollywood. It's like, but of course you are. Yeah. But this isn't just Hollywood. It's Japan, really. And it's a lot of the Japanese filmmaking influence from the 80s, from movies like Tetsuo the Iron Man and 80,000, I know I'm saying this backwards probably, but about 80,000 Volts Electric Dragon. Just these totally warped, insane, just, stuff that doesn't even begin to touch on reality. It's just a fun roller coaster ride strictly for adults.
Now, what really works with this film, the one thing that even if you cannot embrace the insanity of it, if you look at this and say that it's just plain trash, you still have to acknowledge the cinematography in this. I doubted it at first. I wrote a blog about it. I thought it was the dumbest fucking idea. They knew what they were doing. It was brilliant. What they did is they bought 20 $1,000 HD cameras from Best Buy so that they could literally run with the cameras and not worry about them getting broken. So these cameras are in car crashes. These cameras are on people's shoulders. These cameras go everywhere, and they get thrown around and destroyed, and then they salvage the tapes and have just this insane, frenetic editing style that they've done tons of work to. I mean, they really spent money on color correction and getting this to look good. But the movie looks gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. And let me tell you, if you have any sort of cinema and draft house in your town to see this at, that's the way to go see this.
Wow.
With a whole bunch of your friends, all about 3 to 5 beers lit, just cheering and screaming. And I tell you what, you're not a man if you don't raise both your hands at the air at the last scene of this film and go, "Fuck yes!"
Yeah, it's pretty fucking awesome, and that's really all you can say about this. You can't use regular. You can't say it was a magnificent film. No, it's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
this is a little boy movie grown up and beating the crap out of other films that try to kind of go in this genre. I was so surprised at how good this is.
Yeah, it really defies in some ways any sort of previous critical terminology to use with it. It's its own thing. In fact, one thing I kept thinking about is if these guys, given enough time, they're 2 guys who directed this, right?
I think so.
It's a team, and if they give them enough time to try some, to take their style, maybe even chill it out a little bit, these might be the guys to make Preacher. Just saying. Some of their craziness, if toned down in just the right way, could work for something like that.
Had to go comic.
I know, I always
Had
do.
to get to the comic.
But you almost can't help it with something like this.
Well, this kind of is a comic book. There's a moment in the beginning of the film because you're just sitting there going, "This is so fucking implausible. This is goddamn implausible." And they're about to cut out his heart, and someone says, "We're about to take out Superman's heart."
Yeah.
And you suddenly realize that everybody idolizes this guy for being more than human, that this guy has become, it almost reminded me of a Frank Miller story from the 80s, kind of like Hard Boiled and like that, his old black and white stuff.
Yeah.
That it was, where it was just so over the top and unrepentant and just, he was that kind of a character put in a cartoon universe.
Yeah.
And then it gets really cartoony and he hates the cartoony shit and just wants to get his fucking heart back.
There's a sequence also early on where there's a newscaster played by the guy who played Q from Star Trek who keeps appearing, who flat out describes the events of the first movie as completely implausible.
Yes.
And if you don't know what kind of ride you're in from there, where they're just putting on the line, this is a comic book. This is totally impossible. You're either going to buy into that or you're just going to be one of those poor saps who doesn't get it.
This is a movie for the people that like the first Crank. If you like the first Crank, you will love this. Because I liked the first Crank, but there were 3 scenes where the jokes felt out of place because the movie wanted to be in a kind of action reality that it was like, okay, I'm buying this movie, but then there's this thing where he's kicking ass in the club and the club actually goes boom. And it's like, oh, you got to be kidding me. That was a lame joke. This is the movie where they give into that, and I thought it wouldn't work.
And it totally does.
They totally make it work. If you liked Crank, you will love Crank 2. This is actually one of those rare films where I think they made a superior sequel by giving into the nature of what they really wanted to make.
Yeah, I think you may very well be right. And you are right what you said about the first one. Some of those points are a little awkward. You're like, that would have been interesting if you had just, kept going. I would have liked to see a lot more of that. But that just by itself, you're like, wait, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
And here, the whole movie is that, where it's just like, fuck it, man. This is not real. This could never happen. And, why not? We're just going to have as much fun with that as we can. And we haven't talked really that much about the exploitation angle, which is a shame because I kept thinking, I know you like the Grindhouse films. I didn't particularly like them. But watching this, I was like, this is the fucking Grindhouse revival film I wanted to see.
Well, because it doesn't actually, it's not a throwback film.
Yeah.
It's a film that's entirely about it's the nature of exploitation set in modern times. Yeah. They're not ripping off anybody else or paying homage to anybody else. They're trying to make their own exploitation. What this felt like a $20 million Troma film.
Yes.
This was like if you gave Lloyd Kaufman $20 million and rather than hiring his friends because he had the money, he was able to hire everyone who did everything right.
Yeah.
And everything is so tight on this. the only flaw you can find in this is the premise. And if you don't buy into the premise, it ain't your film. But, oh my God, how awesome was the music? Mike Patton.
I totally forgot to bring that up. Mike Patton from Mr. Bungle and Faith No More, who is arguably my favorite musician.
He's one of those bizarre, awesome, weird musicians who I've always loved and has just a great voice. He doesn't do any voices in this.
No.
He just did the music like Mark Mothersbaugh does a lot of music.
Sure.
God bless Devo.
Yes.
And just that music with this kind of movie, it just all fucking came together and gelled.
Yeah, there's that moment at the end credits when it says Mike Patton. I went, of course it's Mike Patton.
Of course it was.
Who else could have made the score for a movie this frenetic, crazy, and all over the place? Yeah, this is unreservedly a full price movie, and I'd even go so far as say it's nearing that next level, because for what it is, it's about as good as a film like this gets.
Now, I would kind of pull back from that. I definitely think it's a full price movie, and it's a full price movie that you have to see with friends. It's not a movie to go on your own and see. I mean, you'll probably enjoy it, but we had the fortunate happenstance that the local draft house decided to, at the last minute, to host a midnight screening. It wasn't like a big advertised thing. They just made it available, and sure enough, everyone we knew showed up, and It was a theater full of our friends, and everyone was hooting and hollering and having a great time. You have to see this at a night showing. If you can see it at a midnight showing, see it at a midnight showing, see it at a place that serves beer, and if not, see it with a lot of friends, and literally go and just have a good fucking time, because that's all this is. It's a good time. And if you don't see it in a theater, which is a crime because it's gorgeous, you gotta rent it and have your friends over when you watch it. This is not a chill out on the couch and watch it movie.
No,
this is an ass beating film.
So you didn't say you give it full
No,
price?
I said I give it a full price.
Okay.
No, it's definitely it's a full price film. It is absolute entertainment. It's something that you know if it's for you or not looking into it. If you didn't like the first Crank, then this isn't for you.
Yeah,
but
and if you did, you'll be shocked that this will make you almost forget about the first one. It's so good. In fact, aren't they making Crank 3 already?
I don't know if they are. I want to see it.
Well, I mean, the end of the movie makes no bones about the fact that it wants to leave it open for a third one.
Sure.
And at this point, you're like, what are they're going to have to do something to top that. It's like at this point, he's pretty much got to have the ability to fly, you know?
Somebody's already made a trailer for Crank 3, which is if they put a poison in his body that can only be excreted with semen. And so he has to jerk off, but jerking off gets boring. And so he has to find more and more erotic things to get him off so he can come to get this poison out of his body.
And the sperm, when it leaves its body, does so in the form of bullets, probably.
Only if it's a Korean film. I've seen that movie, actually.
Well, this was influenced enough by the Asian movies. It seems like the natural next step.
Those things aren't designed for strenuous activity.
Tell me about it.